What will the England white ball side look like under Brendon McCullum?
That's a fantastic question, man.
Thank you very much.
And that's all we have time for. No, it's weird because do you remember, he had that season with Kolkata where they were absolute. I can't remember if we can swear on this YouTube, so I won't say. They were not very good for like a half, and then I think maybe that was the pandemic season, and they came back later, and then they had this huge run when they did really well. I remember in the first half, he just kept saying, "Oh, I'm back in the boys," and everyone's looking at it going,
"That sounds familiar."
Yeah, and everyone's looking at it going, "We get it, we get it," but like nothing's happening, and then suddenly they look like the best side in the world. The interesting thing about England at their best in white ball cricket, which was inspired by McCullum, of course, you know, the whole thing was inspired by McCullum, but at their best, they were quite a consistent, efficient monster, I thought, in T20 and one-day cricket.
Yeah.
Bazball team isn't like that at all. It's a lot more spasmodic and, you know, passionate, and sometimes it's really bad.
Right. Basmodic.
Yeah,
See what I did there? That's all we have for you.
And so it'd be interesting to see, and as I said, with Kolkata, I kind of felt the same thing. They were either the worst side in the IPL or the best side in the IPL. There was no middle. That's not how England white ball cricket has been. So maybe what they need is a little bit more freedom to go back to when it started in 2016, where it was like, where you know, Bayliss just said to them, I don't know, fellas, just go out and hit some fours, right? Like it was that kind of idea at that point, right? Maybe McCullum can get them back and give them that freedom, because so many teams have gone past them, right, in white ball cricket, that they're no longer, they started this new model, and now India, who were really conservative, even India's like, okay, we're all just going to whack sixes then. Okay, we're going to go with that. England no longer looks like that side anymore, so maybe McCullum gives them that energy back, and we know he's going to back them, right? He's going to pick 15 guys, and he's going to give them cigars and champagne and tell them how great they are. Maybe that's what they need to hear.
So at Kolkata, was it personnel change, or was it just, you know, halfway through the season, people really did just feel backed and relaxed, and you know and look, you played the game. I bet walking out onto the field, thinking I'm going to hit 50 today is better. Or you performed better when you were confident and felt relaxed than when you went out and thinking, oh my God, you know, like, which side of the bat do I hold?
So the issue with franchise cricket is, and it's not just IPL, just across, is you only get your team 4 days a week before the tournament starts.
Yeah.
Right? So that's where you need leaders, and if my memory serves me right, Owen Morgan was the captain.
Yeah.
They had a fairly youngish side. I think DK was the other experienced guy in that side. That's about it.
Yeah.
Maybe Cummins was around, but I don't even know if he was in the side.
Cummins, he was the big money player for that season. So he kind of got Morgan because he needed his concepts to kind of filter down to everyone else.
Yeah.
And in franchise cricket, that is very, very difficult to happen because you don't have time. Right? You want just players to come in and hit the ground running. So I would not at times compare franchise to international. So the advantage that Baz would have here is the fact that, and I do a fair bit of coaching as well, and what I've seen is in the last couple of years with him being coach of the red ball cricket, that flavor has filtered to the younger lot as well. So the next generation of batters, whether you're playing red ball or white ball, are going to play that way.
There's a buy-in.
Yes, and that's where him getting into the white ball setup as well, he's going to get players who are quite aware of the brand of cricket that he wants them to play. So that's where I think there is uniformity there. And I've been saying this while he was the red ball coach as well. The biggest challenge for any player of this generation is to move from one format to the other. So what Baz has done is he's kind of bridged that gap to a great extent. He's like, you don't have to change a lot from when you're playing red ball to white ball. Just be a little more circumspect, whatever, those issues. But you don't really have to drastically change your game or your mindset. And I think that's what he's done with cricket in general, and obviously cricket here. And I think he's going to do much, much better than what he's done in franchise cricket as far as white ball is concerned, because I think he's already got those new, and England white ball cricket is going through a transition period. There's a lot of new guys coming in. So the new lot who are coming in have already bought into that school of thought. And so I think he's going to do much better for England in white ball than his franchise record would suggest.
The England side was a dynasty. That's how he described it, actually. you know, your Jason Roys, Johnny Bairstow, Ben Stokes, Jos Buttler.
I'm aware.
Joffrey Archer. I mean, these players have got.
Play.
But how much of your success, or how much of the success of having a brilliant captain in Owen Morgan and Trevor Bayliss saying hit more fours, or whoever, you know, you're still dependent on having good players, right?
So this is my issue at the moment, and I'm kind of fascinated to see if Brendon McCullum is the greatest cricket coach of all time, or whether he came up with a really good theory that is limited but worked, right? Because at the moment, the issue wasn't Matthew Mott, and it's not even Jos Buttler as captain. I'm not saying that they were both doing great jobs and deserved to keep them, but that wasn't the issue. The issue was that they had a period of time where they had guys like Joe Root and Owen Morgan in the ODI side who could play spin as good as anyone in Asia and played it brilliantly and would score off it and would keep the rate up. And then they had these incredible all-rounders around them, right?
Yeah.
So they had these incredibly long batting lineups down to Liam Plunkett and Adil Rashid at 9, 10, 11 and all that sort of stuff. So everyone could attack and you couldn't be held down by spin, right? And then you had Moeen Ali in peak Moeen Ali form and you had Adil Rashid, right? That last game was against India in the World Cup semi-final when Liam Livingstone did really well. And I was like, well, if Liam Livingstone's done really well, the other team that has actual spinners are going to be unplayable, right? And so there's their first problem. The second and the third spinners are just such a drop-off from their first spinner in an era where over the last couple of years, a lot of teams have really good spin bowling options available to them. And then the second one, I mean, if South Africa have two spinners that are world-class, what on earth has happened to our game, right?
Yeah.
And then you go to the batting. Again, South Africa is a good example. South Africa used to be able to keep South Africans down by, just darting the spin in and they would, Callis would block it for hours on end. Look at their players now. Like Heinrich Klaasen is maybe the best hitter of spin we've ever seen, right? And so England suddenly don't play spin very well and they don't have that quality of spin. So what's McCullum going to do to overcome that? Now, in Test cricket, what did he do? He said, okay, let's forget about finding red ball batters. Let's get white ball batters in and back them and put so much pressure on the opposition and essentially, make it so the opposition only has one or two bowlers that they trust. And then with the tactics, with the ball, it's just like, if nothing's working in the Test game, we're just going to bowl 17 hours of bounces until someone, does that. What's he going to do in ODI and T20 cricket to overcome these big issues? Either he is an absolute genius coach and it'll be a lot of fun to watch, or he's going to run into the same problem Matthew Mott happened, whereas the minute the other team has two or three good spinners on a wicket that's doing anything, England suddenly doesn't look like a world-beating team anymore.
Well, fair enough. I think that's a fair call. But having said that, the new generation, obviously there's a lot of new guys coming in now. I think that was the main issue last couple of years. Yeah. And to a great extent also, I thought Jos Buttler as a leader wasn't very inspiring.
No, that's fair.
And that's where I think, and especially in T20 cricket, coach has got absolutely maybe 5% of the job. It's all captain oriented, right? It's a captain driven format. And I thought Jos, as good a player he is, will be one of the best T20 white ball players ever, kind of thing. But as a leader, was never a big fan. I think that's where a lot of the better players couldn't get the best out of them, and especially in white ball cricket and T20, because predominantly a lot of T20 apart from the Champions Trophy. What you need is definition of roles, that clarity of thought, and the freedom to express. And obviously quality is there, and you expect when you're playing international cricket, and especially for a team like in England, you would have those things. So you can have the basic stuff in terms of skill. But can Baz create that thing in a T20 environment? And I think that's what he's best at, is to create that environment where, as a cricketer, I know exactly what I want to do, what I want to achieve. My clarity of thought is there. And do I have the freedom to go express myself with Baz? I think that's something that I have. So as a player, under those basic framework, and provided I have that skill set, I think I'll be a better player than, let's say, some of the other coaches.
Yeah, but let's say that he's right, and Deep has nailed that, and he does it. They still don't have any death bowling, right? They still don't. Well, if Adil Rashid retires tomorrow, who's England's spinner, right? Yeah. And I've got a feeling, and I think they had an incredible generation where Jos Buttler, Moeen Ali, Owen Morgan, Joe Root, all these guys were very, very good players of spin.
Yeah.
I've been watching a lot of the Blast over the last couple of weeks. The end of the tournament, I watched a bit of the 100 as well. I watch a lot of England players who seem to be incredible hitters of seam. And the minute the spinners come on, even if it's an average spinner, like some of these guys, I'm like, that's club level spin. They change the way they bat. And I'm not seeing that. You compare that to Australia, where you've got Mitch Marsh and Travis Head, who are incredibly flawed players in many ways. No one in the world wants to bowl spin to Travis Head anymore. How many players in the England lineup would you say that to about at the moment? And so if there's no fear from the opposition, I think teams are going to load up on spin against them. I just don't know how, I don't know how they win games consistently. I think he can improve the overall side, but I think India, South Africa, and Australia are just on a completely different level to England at the moment. It's a big step up. It'd be fascinating to see how he can try and work that out.
Thank you very much.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.